And it says once again, we're live. Hello, Tuesday warriors.
Hello.
Hello. Can another cut in the control room tell us if we are
not yet.
Live
No,
and
yet.
on? Well, you have to refresh, dude.
Yeah, I'm refreshing.
Hello.
You are refreshing.
Well,
That's
good
what
morning.
I always say.
Let me go to the comments and see if anybody's seeing us. There we go. Comments. So, good morning, folks. We are here today to do a limerick reading of all things. Imagine that. So this is Angie's latest book. It is called Mrs. McCartney's Liverpool Limericks. It's got the light on it. And other random Irish haikus. So, madam, you've recorded an audiobook, have you not? What was that experience like?
It was exciting, yeah. And it's all down to you and Martin. Thank you for working on me.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy
That-
peasy.
Jolly good.
That's because we've got a Billy King Neumann microphone
Oh, I
in the
know.
studio. See?
Yeah.
That's great. So anyway, if you are a Grammy voter, this is something we'd love you to listen to. And the URL is going to float across the top here shortly. I will show this. And then I'm all discombobulated this morning because we haven't got a guest. Isn't that funny? Scroll across the bottom, save. And there it is. So this is an audiobook. Tell me about where Limericks got started.
Well, there are two schools of thought. One was Edward Lear in the 18 something, 1800 and frozen to death. or
About
something.
20 years after you were born then.
That's right, yes. And limericks are very well known in both Irish and particularly Liverpool, but then Liverpool is the capital of Ireland. But they're always bawdy, and they're always, sailors used to sing them when they were having their rum or beer or whatever. And it just has evolved, and it's stayed alive in Liverpool too. People still do limericks in pubs. And I just thought, well, why not? So I looked up the history. Shall I tell you a little bit
Yeah,
about
go
it?
right ahead.
Okay.
Knock me out.
Yeah. So, limericks, they're a type of verse which began in England about the 18th century. So, about the time I was born. They're usually of a humorous nature, but very vulgar and raunchy usually.
But they won't be today.
Oh, no,
They'll be
no,
all
no.
about the Fab Four and Liverpool. And
That's right, yeah. So I wrote one mainly about Liverpool and its famous people and life of birds and all that stuff.
Yep.
And that's what we've decided.
And so the format is da 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 da.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. So it's A-A-B-B-A, the rhyme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like ABBA. but it's
Sounds like
not.
a happen.
You should write a limerick book about ABBA songs. There you go. There's your next one.
Oh, God.
I don't know what rhymes with Fernando, but there you go.
Oh, I'll think of something else. Yeah.
So once this was all started, obviously, how did you go about making a list of all of the people from the swinging 60s and pop culture and the British invasion that are included in the book? Did you just go through your diaries? Or?
No, I went through each of my own books. I've written several,
To the library behind us.
Name dropper and book dropper. Yes. Yeah. And I just made myself a list, mainly, of course, first of all, the Beatles.
Yeah.
The Cavern, the Liver Birds.
The usual suspects.
Yeah, the usual suspects. And it went from there. It sort of grew its own legs.
So if you haven't got this book yet, which is also available on audible.com now, you can download it and listen to Madame and her dulcet tones, produced by Martin Nethercutt. But not only, but also, we have a fan letter from Queen Camilla of England. I don't know if you can see that. But you want to tell the kids the story about how this whole Queen Camilla pen pal thing started?
Well, there's an English actress whom I'm sure lots of you are well aware of, called Miriam Margolyes, was a great favourite of mine. And I saw on the Graham Norton show that she was going to be appearing in England for the Queen, for one of the Queen's reading room events. So I looked that up and found that Queen Camilla, even before she was the Queen, has had a great loving of reading and trying to foster the interests of children to read and libraries and so forth.
It is muy, muy importante to be able to read.
Yeah. So I just decided to write Her Majesty a letter. First, congratulations on your new job. And I've just written a little book about Liverpool. Excuse me. I'm breaking these teeth in for a friend. Excuse me.
Who read room?
Hey, knock it off. So I was very pleased. I got a reply. Actually, a registered letter came to the house.
Oh, that was funny. So
Yeah.
Martin and I were out at the local Thai restaurant grabbing lunch, and our Ring doorbell went off. And I've always told Angie, if she's not with us, don't answer the door. Unless it's George Clooney, don't open the door.
Oh,
So until he gets a job in the mail service, I don't think Angie's going to open the door. So the Ring doorbell goes off, and it's our lovely postman. And he says, I have a letter, recorded delivery, needs a signature. And I thought,
who's doing it?
that's never good. It's the landlord or it's some bugger,
Yes, after Monday.
And so he held it up to the Ring camera. I'm like, it's English postage. And it says CR. I don't know anyone with the initials CR. So he said, never mind, I'll go on my rounds. I'll park my truck here and I'll come back at the end of the day and I'll deliver the letter. So sure enough, God bless him, he came back about 5 o'clock. And I looked at it and I turned it over and it said it's from Burke Hall. And I'm like, Burke Hall, isn't that one of the Scottish royal residences? Mm-hmm. Well, son of a gun, if it wasn't a letter from Queen Camilla for Her Majesty. The postman, you could have knocked him over with a feather.
Yeah.
So it's
Camilla Regina, that was what
Camilla
CR.
Regina, indeed.
Yeah.
You have to be really careful how you say that. And otherwise you're an involuntary gynecologist right away. Anywho, do you remember that bloke we met in Tunisia who would get on the tour bus at the hotel?
Oh, that's right.
And
yeah.
he had a business card in like 5 lines. Scruffy old bloke, obviously lived on the beach. He had a
He
business
actually
card.
had a piece of string tying one of the sole of one of his shoes on.
Yeah, he had a business card in 5 languages.
He was a gynecologist.
It said resort gynecologist.
But that's nothing to do with my limericks.
I digress from the Queen. So anyway, she wrote a letter and requested that Ange send this book. So we did. And through the whole, it went to Buckingham Palace, didn't it?
Yeah, that was the address that her secretary told me to send it to.
Okay.
And I thought that with all the onslaught of mail about the King's new diagnosis and Princess Kate,
of course,
and so on, I thought it'll never get found. But lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, I got another letter. And once again, they were out at lunch, Ring doorbell, postman, same scenario. And she speaks to him and he says, oh, you'll want to sign this one. It's from the Queen again.
He said, oh, no, it's the Queen again.
Another one from her.
So, which was very nice.
Yeah.
Her Majesty thanked Angela and said, I'm tremendously enjoying the book. So I suggest you avail yourself of a signed copy on Mrs. McCartney's teas.com or an unsigned regular print on demand from Amazon. Do you want to read a couple of the limericks about the Fabs in case we are lucky enough to have any Grammy voters watching?
Oh,
which
yeah,
would be
sure.
lovely. Should I start with our Paul?
Why not?
Might as well start.
Yeah. I think he's known.
He's the best. Oh, actually, we'll start with John because he started the Beatles. And then you
all right then. Okay, you're in charge.
Okay, so John Lennon. And in the print version, I did a bunch of these black and white etchings to match some of the chapters. So John Lennon limerick, here we go. John Winston, he started it all, as early fans surely recall. Then along came the others. They bonded like brothers. Through problems, they always stood tall. John's wit and charm part of his game. He'd never imagined the fame. War is over and peace spread emotional release, and music was never the same. John Lennon, a man of great might. With his words, he'd inspire and ignite. From his youth, he'd create so much music, so great. He would conquer the world and delight. With Yoko, they both found new love. They bonded like two turtle doves, and each with their voice found a way to rejoice till the tragic end took him above. There you go. That's our Johnny, our John Winston.
So we'll have our Paul next.
Our Paul next.
Okay. Are you sitting comfortably?
Yes.
They used to say that in Listen with Mother on BBC Radio when they wrote stories to children.
Then I'll begin.
Then I'll begin. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Okay. Paul's talent still burns ever bright. With his music, he reached a new height. Yesterday, let it be, let his talents run free, and that voice like a warm summer night. In the Beatles, he played a key role with his bass and his voice and his soul. He would charm all the gals, even win over male pals, making fans happy, the goal. His creation, it never will stop, and with wings he remained at the top. Maybe I'm Amazed is a song that's still praised, and his talent's the cream of the crop. More? More?
Sure, if there's more, Paul, we'll always take more, Paulie.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay. So Paul has his groupies for sure, and daily they grow more and more. They follow him loyally and treat him like royalty, with most of them wishing for more. Now with whimsy and joy, kids can ride, with old grandpa's, with old granddude's compass, the guide, a submarine green, try to keep the world clean. Writing kids' books keeps Paul in his stride.
Indeed. Very good.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Paul has written a children's book called Granddude, and the submarine in it is green.
Green, yes.
So don't think the old farts made a mistake with the green submarine.
I make lots of mistakes, but that's not one of them.
There are two submarines now, one yellow, one green.
That's right.
Indeed. And some of these things, Octopus's Garden and so on, there are limericks about the songs and about the places and about the people, Carnegie Hall. It's a whole sort of historical look about how the Beatles came from Liverpool to Hamburg to America. Blue Jay Way is in here, the Hollywood Hills. And then there's a whole bunch of Beatle people. So Astrid Kircher, Barbara Bach, Billy J. Kramer, who was a guest on here a couple of weeks ago, who is, if you haven't checked out BillyJKramermusic.com, go do that immediately. His new record is fab. Oh, Billy Preston. We loved us some Billy.
Yes.
I was actually the last person to interview him before he passed on. But shall I read Billy Preston?
Yes, do.
Shall I, folks?
Why
Tell
not?
me in the comments. Billy Preston, a man of great skill. With his music, he'd give us a thrill. He'd smile and he'd sing. Oh, the joy he would bring. And the Fabs that thought their boy was dead brill. He performed on piano so fine, with nothing from nothing divine. With the Stones, too, he'd play, having fun night and day, sometimes needing to keep them in line. Smiling Billy was always on hand to fill in on keyboards when planned. With his bright winning smile, he'd be there for a while, ever ready when called on demand. With the Beatles, he'd happily stand, and his talents were much in demand. And on Don't Let Me Down, he sure went to town. Those keyboards were at his command. So what Ange tried to do with this, and I think it's a great introduction for parents and grandparents to introduce, younger generations to Beatles in a lilting format and a memorable format. And also it's resurrecting the limerick as a form. So when you write about like Liverpool and Savile Row and Penny Lane and Abbey Road and Hessie's Music Store, does that take you back to the days when Liverpool was your home?
Oh, yes. Liverpool was very small in those days. And the last time I went there, the centre of Liverpool still seemed small, but it's spread. And there are so many great restaurants there now, and it's a wonderful place to visit. The sense of humour is bar none.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Beatle Week is coming up in August.
Yes.
So if you, thank you, Sammy. She's saying, loving a whole show of Limerick time. That's fun. If you're going to Liverpool, by the way, make sure if you can't get a room at the Rogue Best's Casbah Inn, which is now open, be sure and at least pay a visit and go to the coffee club downstairs, and he's got some great live music. And if you are going to Liverpool, it would be remiss of me. I said I wasn't going to do this, but, shameless.
And they call me a name dropper. Yeah.
Make sure you avail yourself of a Ticket to Ride by Her Majesty. This is all of the stops that you must make in Liverpool, London, Hamburg, New York, and LA if you're a Beatle fan. And to boot, every single place, there's a photo of Eleanor Rigby's grave that I took when I was there with Ken Barker. Every single place has its own QR code, which links to McCartney.com. And Martin has built a companion webpage, which gets updated regularly, as does the Limerick book, because I'm going to have to make a new update to this with the second letter from Queen Camilla, am I not?
Oh, yes.
Maybe we should actually write a limerick about the Queen and put it in.
Well,
here.
actually, I sent her one on her birthday, and I haven't heard back yet. So maybe she's written an order saying "off with her head."
Yeah, maybe.
Don't know yet.
Maybe the next ring on the doorbell's take you to the tower.
Yeah.
Never mind, take it to the bridge. Take it to the tower.
Yeah.
Oh dear God in heaven.
Yes, I will indeed. I'll write a miscellaneous one next. Yeah.
Yeah. How many of you on the chat here has anybody been to Liverpool? Oh, Joanne's going to be staying at the Casbah in December. That'll be magical.
Oh, great.
For Crizzy, as we call it.
Yeah.
That'll be great. So yes, if you know a Grammy voter and you're watching this, please send them the link down in the bottom there. We have a little business called fyconline.com, which is for your consideration. And we've been lucky enough to build 4 FYC pages for Grammy winners and many, many nominees. So head on over to fyconline.com / Mrs. McCartney. You'll see that there.
This is McCartney.
This is another little fun thing we had. So we took a picture on the couch after TeaFlix, and then I used one of my magic apps to put us in an Irish pub. So
splendid idea.
A splendid idea, like the White Star on Matthew Street, which is one of my favorite pubs. If you're going to Liverpool, make sure you go into the White Star on a Wednesday afternoon and go in the back room.
You might hear some limericks, actually.
Yes, you would. I'm sure you will hear some limericks.
Probably,
there. Absolutely. So we've read John and Paul. We'd be remiss if we didn't read Ringo and George.
Oh, absolutely.
Would we not?
Yes.
So, Sir Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr is a drummer so fine. Through his beats, he dictates perfect time. From the Dingle he came, helped the Beatles with fame, with his rhythms forever in line. With his sticks, he would keep up that beat. His style so unique and so neat. His humor and quips bring a smile to our lips, and his outlook is always a treat. His voice, too, then made a breakthrough, about a submarine, yellow in hue. And his all-star band still rings out across the land with a rock and roll legendary crew. Insert Edgar Winter here.
That's right.
So let's give Busy Ringo a shout. He rocks and he rolls without doubt. Like Paul, he's a lefty. As a drummer, that's hefty. So he never has time to chill out. So there you go, Ringo. If you're watching, that's for you.
Yeah, and happy belated birthday. He had a great clan.
Same day as Jimmy Mac.
That's right.
Same day as my dad.
Yeah, different
Absolutely.
year, of course.
So you're going to read George.
So George,
Let's prop that up so you're not staring at your navel. Mind you, that'd be a trick.
I've done that for a long time.
Yeah, right.
Back at the plot. George Harrison. From something to Here Comes the Sun, the hearts of the public he won. He shone on guitar, then moved on to sitar, a genius second to none. Spirituality part of his soul, my sweet Lord truly showed us his goal. With the Wilburys he'd play, have some fun on the way, to make people smile was his role. So friends, we were lucky to hear, dear George, a magician, not a magician. Hello, you'd think I'd be able to do this right. So friends, we were lucky to hear, dear George, one more time, musician, so dear. I haven't had a drop, I promise, only tea. His heartwarming smile raised us up for a while, remembering him each time we hear.
Yeah, we miss George.
Oh, I know.
He was a good one. They're all good ones, but here's to our Georgie boy.
Yep.
So are there anybody on the chat? Let me know if there's somebody you think we might have written a limerick about, and we'll go scurrying through the book to find it. But once you get into the rhythm of listening to limericks, it's very easy to really kind of lose yourself in the story, isn't it?
Yeah. I tell you one I like, Eleanor Rigby. I love the picture you did for it.
I painted her, etched her, with her face full of in a jar by the door, full of rice that they show at weddings. So that's my my black and white etching of Eleanor Rigby. And so, do you want to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let's find the first page.
Previous page.
The first part of the first part. There you go.
Part of the first part. Eleanor Rigby, a figure so start. I'll start again. I'm not doing very well this morning.
Why don't you prop it up so that they can see? Don't have to look at the top of your wig.
Not a wig, it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eleanor Rigby, a figure so stark, so lonely and quiet in the park, picking up rice in a world cold as ice, a character haunting and dark. In her solitude, she'd softly weep. No one to share her secrets she'd keep. With her face in a jar and life below par, Eleanor's sorrow ran deep.
Oh.
Now in song, her mysteries unsealed, a classic forever concealed. And now Eleanor's name lives in the Hall of Fame, a portrait of lonely revealed.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
But
Do
I
you know
love
what
a little photograph.
You know what amazes me about when you go through the Beatles songs is that they created so many characters. I mean, you've got, just in this chapter alone, from within the songs, we've got Billy Shears, Dear Prudence, Eleanor Rigby, Fool on the Hill. I'll stop and read one when I get one that I like. Lovely Rita, Meter Maid, and here's my etching of Rita writing ever-loving parking tickets that nobody likes. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. The Magical Mystery Tour was full of characters. That bus was crazy. They have the Octopus's Garden. They have Rocky Raccoon, Sexy Sadie, Sergeant Pepper. So many characters. Obviously this is what the Love Show Cirque du Soleil was based around.
That's right. Yes.
A lot of these people. But
Yellow Submarine.
Right. I'm going to read Rocky Raccoon just for fun. In the town of White Springs he arose, a ballad spun where the music flows. With a heart full of ire, he sought his desire. Within Rocky Raccoon, the tale grows. A triangle in love's strange embrace, Lil McGill and Dan's hearts to erase. With a duel on hand in that wild frontier land, Rocky's quest, a hypotenuse case. So Rocky sought vengeance that day in the saloon where guitars would play. And as Gideon's grace in that western place threw a twist on this frontier display. You see?
So now look it up.
You see. What's he saying? Is there a limerick for the Duchess of Kirkcuddy?
No.
I don't know about that, Karen. Why our learned friend from Edinburgh, why would you ask about the Duchess of Kirkcuddy? I must be missing a large meeting here. So there's a chapter about wings. There's a chapter about all of the old places. Like, do you want to read Penny Lane?
Penny Lane, yes.
There you go.
A barber's, a bus stop, some shops make Penny Lane top of the stops. For fans on the run who just want to have fun and say that they voted the tops. On Penny Lane in Liverpool's heart, a place where memories still impart, a barber's shop, a bank, and a fireman to thank. Beatles' lyrics were just works of art.
Ta-da!
Ta-da, yeah.
Absolutely. So it is incredible how much sort of pop iconography they've made through the places where they worked and the places they were born and the places they played and the people that they interacted with and all the characters, like I was saying, from Rocky Raccoon to Sexy Sadie. It's a never-ending barrel of content, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Yes, and of course, you create the picture in your mind, so everybody's vision of these things is different.
Absolutely.
That's why
my favorite song is In My Life, because it starts with There Are Places I Remember. Well, for everybody, that's going to be different places. For Karen, it's going to be Edinburgh. For Efrat, it's going to be Israel. For Sammy, it's going to be Atlanta. For Paul Moody, it's going to be Playa del Rey Beach. It's going to be whatever springs to mind, is that's where you start to make your little
places I remember.
Well, places I remember, but that's where you start to make your little mental music video. And that's what gave rise to the idea for her coffee table book, There Are Faces I Remember, which is 168 friends and Beatley people and celebrities that Angie and I have personally met throughout the years that we never would have done had we not been connected and brought into the Jim McCartney story. Family. For those of you who don't know how we are actually wind up with McCartney on our driver's licenses, why don't you tell the kids the Mike Robbins and Bet Robbins story and Auntie Joan and how you all met?
Yeah, I met a girl who became a very good friend called Bet Robbins at a holiday camp in North Wales in Pwllheli. And if you can say that, you've got something under your belt. Pwllheli,
or under your tongue, stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, and she and I shared a chalet, and she fell in love with one of the redcoats there, the entertainers, fabulous guy called Mike Robbins, and she absolutely was besotted with him. And
One could see why.
oh, I know, he was charming,
Charming.
absolutely
Hilarious.
charming, wonderful talent. And we kept in touch over the years, but then our paths varied. She married Mike and had 3 lovely children.
And this is the late 1950s, don't forget. So,
Yeah.
Nobody had phones at home.
Oh, no.
Carry on.
Oh, no. We had to go to the priest's house and ask if we could use the phone. There was one at the end of the street, but it was always a little line of people waiting to use it.
Wow.
And you had to put your money in the
Do you remember when we got party lines? One
Oh,
row of
yes, you could always
houses?
listen to Mrs.
Yeah,
Thingy on
everybody
the
would
phone.
just pick up the phone and do this and listen
And
into the
this-
next door.
Party lines. yeah.
Crazy.
I know.
Anyway, so Mike Robbins.
Mike Robbins, many years have gone by, and then in 1963, was
Four.
it? 1964, my sister Joan, who lived in Liverpool, was in a shop where she lived nearby in Broadway, Norris Green, and a man came running into the shop and said, "Sorry, everybody, I'm in a real hurry. I'm late for a funeral. Can anybody direct me to Broad Lane Cemetery?" So Joan spoke up and gave him the directions, and he said, "You're not Angela, are you?" And she said, "No, but I've got a sister called Angela." And he said, "Oh my God, with a little Ruth?" She said, "Yes, that's right." He said, "Well, look, I'm really running late, but here's our phone number. Get Angie to call us. I'm Mike Robbins." And of course, the penny dropped with my sister. So she called me at work. Well, I had a telephone, of course, big time in the daytime. And she said, "I've just met a man called Mike Robbins." Well, and that's how it all started. We got together again. And Beth said to me at one stage, "You should come and meet Uncle Jim." And I said, "Uncle Jim, why?" And she said, "Oh, don't you remember all those years ago when we first knew each other? You'd come over to Kensington on a Saturday afternoon, and Uncle Jim and Auntie Mary had come by with the little boys." I said, "Yeah, I vaguely remember them." And she said, "Well, you know who Paul is, don't you? He's Paul McCartney." Wowee. Bring on the feather and knock me down.
This
Yeah.
is probably about 1955, because you met them well before I was born in 1960. So Paul would have been, what, 11, something like that?
So I don't know,
Yeah.
9 or 10 or something.
Mike would have been about 9.
Yeah. So she and I made a date for me to come through the Mersey Tunnel to where she was living at Auntie Millie's in Bebington and get a taxi to go and meet Uncle Jim at Rembrandt in Heswell, which was the house that Paul bought for his dad. And the rest, as they say, Jim and I just hit it off. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and by November 24th, 1964, I became Mrs. McCartney.
Dun,
And
dun, dun, dun.
yeah, and then we went on honeymoon to the Bahamas where the boys were filming Help.
Yep.
And there was some muddle at the airport over Ruth still being
Williams.
in my previous name on the passport, and they couldn't find her. And there was such a to-do at the airport. We thought she wasn't going to be able to get on the plane. And Jim was muttering, saying, "Bloody ridiculous this." And as soon as we get home, I'm going to make sure it's all straightened out. I'm going to adopt her. Is that all right? I said, "Oh, yeah, I think so." And he did. And yeah, we lived happily 12 years after. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
That was so. Barbara George is asking, do we have a limerick about our dear Martin? There's one about me, but I can't. That's disingenuous. I'm not going to read it. And of course, the writer doesn't write one about herself. But my lovely hubby and our dear producer of this audiobook, for your considerations, Best Spoken Word Grammy Poetry.
I've got a chapter about him in this one.
And there's a chapter about him, Barbara, in There Are Faces I Remember.
But if I may make so bold and be a little bit raunchy, the only word I could originally think to rhyme with Martin was Martin.
Yeah, which he doesn't.
Hey.
Hey,
He's
do you resemble that remark?
Barton Martin.
He actually doesn't, amazingly enough.
Oh, okay.
So we're little pink clouds occasionally, no barking frogs in this house.
Barton
So
spiders.
Martin Nethercote, my lovely husband, and it says in the book, my lovely son-in-law. In the music world, Martin's a guide. With Geist music, smart thinking can't hide. A composer with flair in the digital air, Martin's music takes us on a ride. So here's to the maestro at hand, Geist music displaying his brand. In each note and chord, his passion is stored, creating his magic so grand. With a voice that can soothe and inspire, his songs can ignite such a fire. With passion and flair, his voice fills the air, an artist for all to admire.
But don't give up your day job, Martin.
Thank you.
Give yourself a hand, mate.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Take the rest of the day off. Well, not till we've finished.
Yeah, not till 7:30 tonight. That's we consider it lucky when we can stop work by dinner time. So this has been lots of fun. Thank you very much. And Peter Gomez says, "Baby, I'm amazed." Martin, shout outs. Thank you, Devon. So have a look over on fyconline.com/Mrs.-McCartney. And this video, there's a blank space for video. That page is not quite finished, but this video will be going on it shortly. Thanks so much for all your love and all your support and tuning in every week. And we will be back next week with another fabulous Beatle book writer. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you all of a sudden.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.